Welcome.
Hey,
Welcome back.
hello again.
It has been a while.
Over a month,
Yeah,
I think,
maybe more.
since we last checked in
hmm
on the podcast.
And on this channel. So we thought that today would be a great day to have some tea and catch up with you all on where we've been, what we've been up to, our intentions for this summer, and check in with you.
The intentions for the summer is really good because tomorrow is a new moon. And new
And we
moon
just
is,
had the summer solstice.
and we just had the summer solstice, and the new moon is so good for intention time. And my moon sign in astrology is in Cancer, so I feel
Mm.
it.
We're also going into a new month, which also,
That's
whether
super
people
exciting.
follow the moon cycles or not, it's also a good time to check back in and set intentions.
Set intentions, yeah. Okay, so where are we going, leader? Where would you like
Where
to
where
start?
would we start? Yeah, okay. So
Let's start with the weekend, the summer solstice.
okay, go on.
Well, we're in Portugal, and I saw that there's this festival called Icaros. Icaro is like a indigenous medicine song to the Americas, and this is a really beautiful festival where they've invited many different cultures, many different traditions of healing and nature-based medicine, and I really appreciate that. It's a big part of my life. We definitely should talk about the Vision Quest if we're gonna be catching up that too. And so I was excited to see what this was, and I was interested in going even last year, and this year I decided to go, and Ruby decided to come with me, and it was for the summer solstice. It was my first festival here in Portugal, and I was going as simply participating, and it was Ruby's first festival, period.
hmm
You want to talk about that?
Well, I've certainly heard and I'm aware of different kinds of music festivals. And while there has been a part of me that's been interested in attending, it hasn't really been something that I've made happen or really prioritized. And this one being more, I would say, on like the holistic side. And it's not like people are on a bunch of under the influence of whatever kind. Um, that I could be interested, but it's also for me something that can be quite overwhelming with like overstimulation and just like so much going on. But I enjoyed it, especially the fact that I got to experience it with you and see and connect with friends that I've made here. And at the same time, after the first day, or after like about halfway through the day, I felt done. Yeah.
We packed the car up. We packed our car up. Our car is named Betty White. And I was looking forward to I got the weekend pass, and I was looking forward to hearing some great musicians and potentially checking out some workshops. And I was really excited because on the Vision Quest, which I'll tell you more about soon, I made a great friend, actually a couple, and they were also going to be at this festival, and they were in the UK, so it felt quite synchronous that they were going to be at the festival. And we packed with the intention of staying overnight in the car, which is fun. We'd like to do that. And like Ruby said, we got there. We I got to connect with my friends. It was felt beautiful, and she we got to see people that we knew and felt this sense of community. And on a warm summer day, we found shade, and we took took it all in. And by halfway through, we had pretty much decided that it would feel good to go home instead of staying the whole weekend. And that was a beautiful process for us because it felt like you sent a really wonderful email in your reflection about it, understanding when enough is enough. When I feel complete, it's okay to step away. And I really, really liked that point of view.
I think it's the knowing like I think that there's this fire, and especially now in the summertime, there's this like fire in us, and this like what I recognize as tenacity, and I feel like it's been a gift that I've inherited from my family of this like you keep going, you know, like no matter what, you kind of you show up, and it doesn't really leave room for you to check in terms of like knowing when something is done and how to honor that despite the fact that like you paid for the extra day or like or whatever kind of stories may be going on, because I know that for me certainly I was also thinking of like, well, if I didn't, I know for me there was the like, well, I've already paid for this, like feeling like committed to, or like I couldn't change my mind, and you've taught me a lot about this, that like it's okay to change your mind, and it's um you know, it's not a waste, or like it really tuning into what is aligned, and like whether it's like you're doing something out of excitement or FOMO or whatever, or like versus no, this would.
I mean, right there, excitement versus FOMO. That's such that like what I understand about that is I have to be in my body
Mm-hmm,
to feel the sensations to be able to discern, am
mm-hmm,
I operating from FOMO? Which for me, FOMO is if I'm gonna make choices based on FOMO, I'm giving my power away.
mm-hmm,
I'm saying that what I have going on isn't good enough,
mm,
and I need to leave that in order to see there might be something better. Versus excitement, it's very clear, like I want to go towards that. I'm yearning for that. I want to be there and I'm excited. But they can be like, especially in the summer fire, they can be really close to the same sensation. And also there might be this thing of, oh, I'm letting somebody down. Like in
mm-hmm,
your case, the conditioning from the family, it's like we commit and we stay all the way through. We get our money's worth. And I'm
mm-hmm,
like, explain to me how I'm getting my money's worth if I've paid for something and I'm not enjoying it, or I'm no longer feeling like I'm receiving from this experience, and then at that point it shifts. Like
mm-hmm.
I'd pay money to get out of there. I mean, not that it was any kind of, it was a
Yeah,
beautiful experience, but it's like I
yeah.
just want to do what feels good,
I
you
can't
know?
remember. Yeah, I can't remember where I heard it, but there's something also called JOMO, like the joy of missing out.
Yeah, exactly. That's a
You've heard
great,
of that, yeah? Yeah.
that's the way to shift it.
Yeah. And so I especially loved in that too, like we were both on the same page. Like
Yeah,
there
that
wasn't
was helpful.
any, and you we also talked about this too when you were reflecting about the email that I shared of, and you just touched on it now of like being in your power,
Mm-hmm.
and like me owning the fact like I didn't want to be there anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and letting myself have that rather than like teetering with the whole stories of
Right.
like, oh I should, oh my friends are here, oh I paid for it or whatever. And when I owned it of like I'm done, or I even just voiced the sensation of like of the feeling of in my body, I'm done.
Could be done.
Yeah. um like the universe is already conspiring
Yeah.
for that to happen, and there wasn't any kind of like I need to fight for this, you know. It was like you were also, we were on the same
Yeah.
page.
It also, I feel like it allowed me and us to have a feeling of completeness,
Mm.
even within the fact that we stayed one day instead of two.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a complete experience.
Mm-hmm. What do we
Yeah.
want to share as a takeaway?
Well, just the story. I mean, the story take that experience and apply it to your life. And are there
Mm-hmm.
areas where you feel like you stay longer than it's adding value to your experience? Do you feel like you have some unwritten contract
Mm-hmm.
with somebody or something that means you have to overgive in order to be enough or in order to be worthy? Um, do you feel like you'll be judged if you leave early? These are things that I'm simply saying because I've noticed them come up in myself, and I feel like we're sharing this experience. So if you have that showing up for you, I mean, one of the best things to do is be on your side.
Mm-hmm. And I think to even become aware of like what that feeling is like of you being done, you might start to make other people judge and make other people or other things wrong.
Right? Yeah, that's a good one.
And I think it's
To avoid.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And like so that could be a sign like you're done. And
Oh, I
you
see.
know,
Yeah.
yeah. And knowing what a yes and what a no feels like in your body is like game changer.
What feels light is usually right.
Hmm.
It felt lighter to go home. It did.
Cool. So that was this last weekend.
That was, yeah, summer solstice. Happy summer, everyone. Let's talk about the fire metaphor too.
Okay.
That was really exciting. Summer solstice, yeah, it's amazing because I want to share over the years, I'm learning things, being in wellness and embodying practices that are connected with the cycles of nature. These are things that I didn't understand or know or have any attenuation being tuned into all the way up to my, like, honestly, like late 20s, 30. Around that time, I started to get tuned in more to the moon cycle, and then also the different cycles of Earth and Sun, and the cycles of the year and the seasons. And I love that I have recognized this more deeply because it allows me to be applying the wisdom of, for example, Ayurveda, where the elements are teaching us how to be in communion and how to be in good relationship with life. And this summer solstice is the longest day. It's like the longest day of sun, whether it's cloudy or whether it's sunny. It's the longest day, and there's the most fire is present.
I also recently read that it's actually not the beginning of summer and actually the halfway point of the summer, which would make sense if it's the longest day and then days start to
Yeah,
shorten after that.
there's the equinox where the days are even, and then they're building up to
Hmm.
the solstice, and then they're going down towards the fall equinox. So whatever you decide to call that. And um, well, recognizing that the fire element is really strong, and we were talking about that. You want to share what your experience was? Was feeling like there was a lot of like this exploration of the fire element within you.
Yeah. So I mean, last week I've been having a lot of
You've been
firsts.
doing first.
Talk about practicing beginner's mindset.
Yes.
Well, I had my first hydro
Colon therapy.
colon hydrotherapy. Yeah. And prior to that, and it was solely out of a desire to want to detox, um, and curiosity for this modality, and it's a game changer. I loved it. I loved how I felt after. um, I really thought that there was going to be this feeling of like physically my stomach feeling like lighter or emptier, but there wasn't, at least I didn't this time really tune into a sensation to that kind of sensation. But what really stood out to me was this like whole reset in my nervous system, like just feeling like time was so slow. The sounds were like just like this, we were by the ocean, so that's the sound of the
Mm.
ocean was just like so present, and I could really like feel it soothing me, and then I just had so much clarity. And in that session, and even before that, I've been reflected how there's some tightness around my diaphragm, and I've also been having these
Little dots,
little like
eczema.
eczema on my elbows that they come and go, and it's a result, and I've been connecting the dots of like too much fire, and so I've been in exploration around that.
And so the hydrocolon therapy and the massage of the diaphragm is this is all in the solar plexus.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also like it's amazing how it all gets connected in one way or the other, understanding power dynamics that come like power struggles, whether it being internally a power struggle or like
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling to get myself out there or whatever that looks like, all the
Mm-hmm.
way to physical manifestations and Ayurveda, like I love Ayurveda for recognizing what's fire, like what's too much fire, what's too much wind. How do we know that in the body? Chinese medicine, TCM also. And so recognizing the summer solstice was here and seeing that it was the height of the fire, the fiery time, it made it that much more valuable to just be in a phase for us of honoring what feels good in our energy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we're gonna go back. It's been a while since we've done a podcast, and we have so much to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
One of those things being our incredible retreat that we hosted here in Portugal called Vortex of Magic. Now, I want to preface this retreat was originally planned for last year, and I had titled it Slow the Fuck Down because I wanted it to be a very much a yin yoga retreat. And based on circumstances, I decided to move it to this year. And at some point, Ruby dropped the words into my life. I forget what it was specifically, but it was Vortex of Magic. And I was like, that's what the retreat's going to be named. And I feel like this was a very special time for me to recognize the alignment for creating retreats because it was the easiest retreat I've ever sold out. Like just an amazing people too. It
Mm-hmm.
was so special.
Yeah, it still is a vortex of magic, the way that people are still connected through the group chat and planning to connect in person. Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite part about the retreat?
Mm. My favorite part was letting go. Like I shared this at the retreat as well. Like I tend to want to know every single little detail of what's going to happen. What am I supposed to like do? How can I help? Who's taking care of what? Um, all any detail you can think about. It's like I want to know it, and I've probably thought about it, and yeah, I took the passenger princess seat, and I set the intention. And my prayer going into the retreat was to hold every single person in a bubble of love and light and to be of service to them, to their evolution and their experience in the retreat. And I really think that when we tune back into this being of service, like being of service and tapping into gratitude are like
Mm,
some of the best medicines if you're in some kind of
the
rut
best.
or like whatever.
Yes.
Not that I was particularly feeling in any rut, but just like powerful medicine. And I said that, and it was really beautiful because it was like gave space for magic to unfold. There wasn't any me trying to like meddle or control a certain like specific outcome. And it was felt and it was received, and I especially loved singing with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Singing songs, medicine songs, rainbow
Mm-hmm.
songs. They feel so good. I love our journey of awakening our voice even more and sharing that with you. And we got to share that with a group. And you know, it's one of those things where of course it's like of course we would connect with each other. Of course we would find this natural attraction where I'm the last person that has considered all the details. So I do need that. I do need some detail orientation in my life, and I'm really grateful for that. And for me, what's magic is that the power of intention. My intention is set. My intention is in every cell of my body, and I trust. And every time, whether it's teaching a yoga class, a workshop, a cacao ceremony, a yoga training, or a retreat, there's always I call them angels, and they're the people who ask me, do you remember this or what about that? And immediately I'm like, thank you, because that was not on my mind, had not crossed my mind. And if it weren't for it, I really believe my intention manifests these beings, like just people around. The thoughts enter their mind, not my mind, but whatever is needed or required, it somehow comes to my attention. And I think that's the most magical thing. And a particularly magical aspect, part of the retreat was that, speaking of things coming to my attention, is there was one thing that I really did want to make happen, and that was a nature quest.
Mm.
And for me, the Nature Quest is a really powerful and empowering process and tool to share with. And on this retreat, there was people I've worked with, coaching clients, yoga, past yoga students. So we had, and a few people that we have a really good connection with. And I trusted them to be able to handle my spontaneity and the degree of not knowing like WTF is going on, but also knowing very much what's going on because the intention is there like an anchor.
Mm.
In the morning, so the Nature Quest entails getting up before light, and I had luckily arranged an angel step through to say, okay, we have an extra car so that everybody can go to the off-site location. Morning of, it's 4:30. I've done some preparation, and then all of a sudden it comes to my attention that the extra car, the key is nowhere to be found. So I'm like, okay, well, let's see if we can find this key. Nothing happens for a little while, and then the key gets found. And but the car battery is for some reason dead too. So it was like one of those moments. It was actually that's a very good polarity contrast to the feeling I'm done versus do I keep persevering
Mm-hmm.
and trusting in the magic that will happen because I really have this excitement, right? Desire to make it happen. So the extra car didn't work out. We all piled into two cars. Don't tell anybody because, that was not my intention. And it turned out to be such a magical experience us going to our Nature Quest. And here's the kicker. We go to the park. I wanted to take them to this amazing park. And as soon as we ride up, there's a big gate in the way, and it's like park is closed. There was a storm, a massive storm like 3 months ago that I guess it was still closed. And I was like, how did that not make it into my field of attention? And I'm like, there must be a reason. So I stayed committed.
Mm.
What was my reaction? You were riding with me.
Mm-hmm. You weren't phased. I mean,
I said, this is interesting.
yeah, you said this is interesting, and I immediately thought of a different possibility too.
Yeah. We were in that space of like what's possible.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you made that connection because on the one hand, with the festival, there was the there wasn't any kind of perceived challenge, and
Mm.
we were just done. And then we are in this experience, and there's challenge after challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like no, like tenacity, like perseverance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So I really we create. I really know. I understand this for myself. I mean, I create the meaning of my around my life. So I didn't make. I could have gone one of two ways. That the gate being there is like this isn't meant to happen. Let's go back. Let's have Plan B or whatever Plan C at this point. Plan D maybe, and to just give up or pivot. And we stayed in that open energy, and I really love that because what helps me is knowing others around me trust me to be in the unknown, so we can be there together. So we went to another part. Ruby took us to another part that she knew, also closed. It's the same park but a different area, and so we just are driving. And the sun, part of the magic is to see the sunrise. Sun is starting to rise. It's a dawn. The colors are beautiful and we drive down this hill. I was like, you know what? Let's park here. There's parking spots, and let's walk up and find a place to see the sunrise. And this is one of my favorite parts, is because we found this really
The spot.
the spot to
Yeah.
see a sunrise. It was
There was a
incredible.
swing. There was a like a
Patch of
lot of
grass,
grass. Yeah. Benches, little places to a fence that we could sit on.
and I really love like that's one of those core memories, and it's happened before for me on retreats, and I've had mentors that have demonstrated that kind of tenacity too, that keep trusting. And it's like all the things that were a no were leading me to this.
Mm-hmm.
But that desire, that will to make it happen had to be there. And then it happened again because we ended up going to a place that, to circumvent the closed park. We went to another place that made it equally as special and meaningful for our guests who were participating in this adventure at this point. And one of the intentions for the retreat, like, was to empower leaders in wellness,
Mm.
to hold the space, to do what they do. And I think one of my gifts is to show somebody leadership that isn't that I know where to go leadership. It's the I know to trust
Mm-hmm.
leadership. I have an intention, of course,
Yeah.
but several people came back to me and said how empowering it was to just see the dance that we had, that we created,
Mm-hmm.
because we were able to trust.
And to feel like, that this was all part of the plan
Right.
too. Like even though we were transparent and they were in that journey with us, it wasn't anything um like unsafe or
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Except potentially 10, 12 people in two
Cut it
cars.
out.
Luckily, it was early. Nobody else was driving. All right.
Yeah.
But it's just Sagittarius
It's
over
that
here
like that
loves an
I
adventure.
think like the distinction that's coming up for me, it's like the pedestaled leadership versus a
Mhm.
resourceful
Yeah.
and human
Yes.
leadership.
I like that.
Yeah.
Human and resourceful.
Hmm.
Oh,
So we wrapped up Vortex of Magic.
yes, we did. Powerful, exciting. Look out for it next year.
Yes, there's already
Already a
dates.
date. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're interested, let us know. And from there, we celebrated Adam's birthday and we had a quick turnaround where we flew to Finland for our race.
Are you enjoying visiting new places in the world
I
and in
am.
Europe?
You're making my dreams come true. You're
You do.
helping me co-create my
That's
dreams.
right. You have to do that.
Yeah.
So, what are we doing in Finland?
We went for a trail run, a race, and it was,
Last time we were on this, we were talking about the training. That's
yeah.
exciting.
Was that the last
I think so.
podcast?
That was the last podcast.
And I remember some of the videos the classes we recorded, it was like helpful for our trainings. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it was my first 25K, longest I've ever run as a former sprinter.
And how far, like roughly, how
25K.
far did you run before?
Wait, roughly what?
How far had you, like, what was, well, actually, in your training, you did a half marathon. But before you started training, like, what was your long distance?
Running?
Yeah. You've hiked
I've
several
hiked
times, 10
like
miles
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah. But running, I would say something maybe like anywhere from 3 to 5 miles.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You did a 10K? Was it a 10K that you did?
Yeah.
That one we did in December?
That's 5 miles.
Six.
Yeah, six.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would have been it?
Yeah.
Cool. 25K. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Had the best coach.
Thank you. I received that. Uh, I really love how you acknowledged me for this, having community all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been an absolute gift in my life, that there's many places in our beautiful world that I can lean to for people to stay with, co-create with. And Finland's one of those places, and I hadn't been back to Finland since early 2020, before lockdown, before all of that. And I have some really good friends there, and they just held us so beautifully. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it felt so good to be received. It's how I want to be able to host people also, is just very unconditional and giving.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I really love that aspect of it. I feel like that made an impact. How was that for you?
That was one of my favorite parts. Yeah. Um, it really felt like family,
Yes.
and that's big for me, especially that I don't have that proximity with my blood family, but it's beautiful to be able to be part of this chosen family too, that
Mm-hmm.
this network of chosen family you've created around the world. And yeah, it was huge for me, like for some essentially a complete stranger to me, um to receive me, to receive us in that
Mm-hmm.
way of like, open arms, like, what do you need? And I do feel like we do host
We do.
like that.
That's accurate. Yeah, we do.
Yes.
Yeah, good
You
point.
more than me because I like my space more. But when I'm like all like when I'm in it, like I'm like that.
Mm.
um and it was real like such a blessing, Beta and Mike.
Yeah, if you watch
Thank
this,
you.
we love you.
Yes.
You want to talk about the run?
Yeah, so I ended up one of the things I was afraid of was to get my period.
Yeah, that's a big process. Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I just like for a while I've had these stories of like weakness around it. I mean, which in a way kind of rightfully so. Like in the past, years ago, the days of the very first day of my cycle, it was like something really painful. I had to be in bed. At points I would pass out. And I and I know while that hadn't been the case for some time, there was still that kind of story operating at a deeper level. And I think there's so much noise right now with all of the like kind of feminine rising um, culture happening, which, to each their own and it's beautiful. But some of that's like, it was like kind of in a way disconnecting me like from my own cycles
And
and
your truth.
and my yeah my truth, because it was like I hear and I share this with people of like I really do think it's valuable for you to sync your life and your routine and what you do as best as you can with your moon cycle. I still stand by that. However, there are other um there there are other like more schools of thoughts or things that go deeper into that, like, oh, on the day of your cycle it's like you should rest more, or like you shouldn't work out, or you shouldn't do this. And so I kind of was like buying into that of like making um, what in the past I would do, or what comes naturally to me as like wrong,
Mm-hmm.
rather than like tuning in like, yeah, okay, my energy, I do notice like, okay, around this time my energy is dipping a little bit. And in the past I would like stop working out, and this, and then like it like, I mean, your hormone levels are already going down, like they're changing. And if you stop the things that are doing like good for you, like it's just kind of a shit show. So a few months back I committed to 30 days of every day 45 minutes of movement, no matter what. And if it was on like closer to my cycle, that I could either walk, I could do yin yoga, or I can take a nap. So all
Mm.
the things that it's like totally doable, like even if I'm on my period. And so anyways, it was like 2 months before the race, and I checked my period tracker, and it was like I was gonna get my period on the day of. And I remember messaging my friend who had just run a marathon, and she was like, "Don't worry about it. Like, mine said the same thing, or mine was like supposed to come on the day, and I ended up getting it like a whole week early, and whatever. I like kind of let it go, and then the next month comes, like we're a month out from the race, and I don't get my period.
Mm.
And it wasn't like I was worried about being pregnant or something like that. Um, but then I started to get into this kind of like waiting energy. And then I
Mm-hmm.
had those stories of like, oh, it's because I'm training too much, or it's because of this, or it's because of that. And when I noticed it, and I noticed that it wasn't feeling good, I tapped in and did something different, chose something different.
What was
And
it that you chose? You had it. You articulate it. Follow the plan and not the.
yes, follow the plan and not the mood. That
Yeah.
was a big theme that like one of the reasons why I decided to do this race was for me to be able to learn how to follow a plan and not the mood. Thanks for
Mm.
reminding me of that.
Mm-hmm.
And because it goes hand in hand with this like psycho feminine kind of style, and it was really good medicine for me, and it continues to be, even in the preparation for it. And so then, okay, we arrive in Finland, and we stop at the health food store before going to your friend's
Yeah,
house.
I remember
And I
that.
was like looking for hormone
Balancing.
balancing things, and I found this uh,
It's just
It's
tonic.
like jackfruit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
tonic
like a
that
little
does it.
dropper. Yeah, into the water. And so I start to put it, and we got there what, like on a
Three
Thursday?
days. Yeah, 3 days before the race.
And I start to, and I was like, I probably shouldn't be doing this because it's gonna make my period come on the day of.
So many,
And so
so
I
many
did it.
layers.
Yeah, and so I mean, I did it one day, and then the second one, I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, whatever. Like, I'm fine, like I know I can do this. And there was never a question of like, I'm not running this race. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, that was never. Did you at all?
Maybe I thought I had the smallest inkling that if you did get your period that you might, and I mean I was just in full support of whatever you needed.
There's no freaking way I trained for all of that
She
and
was gonna
said
get her
follow
money's worth on that one.
follow mood that I was not gonna do it.
So you did it.
Yeah. I
Oh
can't
wait,
no,
so
I got my
yeah,
period the day before.
there you go.
I got my period the day before. And it was fine. I didn't even have cramps, which that has been the case for me. Like the last few periods I haven't really had
I
cramps.
think that's the tell. I think that's really like pain. I don't know, but painful periods is more where you want to check in and see, okay, how can I be more in balance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have any cramps. It just was like, okay, and the next day got up and ran. And it was like it was so empowering. Like it was a whole ceremony
Oh,
of itself.
that's
Like,
why I love running.
yeah.
I love I recognize that one of my medicines in my life, when I say medicine, like something that's really taught me a lot, been healing for me, is doing hard things physically or mentally, or the combination of the two, because at some point there's a convergence.
Mm-hmm.
And if you run far enough, you're gonna start to realize that it's also hard mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, endurance running has been one of my first practices like meditation or yoga. And I'm really like I just love hearing your journey with it, how you got so much out of it. Because I could talk about that and ad infinitum. I mean, we could just fill up books about that, but you got to experience it, and that makes all the difference.
Mm. Thank you for supporting
Yeah, of
and being
course.
there for me. Yeah.
Of course.
There was something I was gonna say, but it's escaping my mind a little bit.
Was it to do with the race?
With the doing hard things,
Oh, yeah.
because when we first around, I don't know how long it was into us dating, but we signed up. You signed us up
Oh, yeah.
for a 10K. Well, me a 10K.
I signed her. I was visiting California and I saw a trail run there and I signed myself up for 10 miles and I signed her up for 10K.
Yeah, and there was a period thing happening then too, because I'm pretty sure I was like around about to get my period.
Mm-hmm.
I really look forward to looking back on these times and seeing. I mean, like I'm all about picking up patterns, and I'm very in it. So like having more of that.
Perspective from distance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
You
I did it.
after that one, you were like,
I
no
was like,
more,
never again.
never again.
And I said, like, I know I can do hard things. Why do I keep trying to prove that I can
Mm,
do hard things?
yeah.
And I think that that particular race was very much like me. I don't want to say pleasing, but maybe I don't know if there's a better word, but it was very much like I know how much this meant for you. I know you really wanted to do it. I think you asked me
Mm,
to do it. And I said like, yeah, why not? And it wasn't something that I was fully choosing, and something that we've both
mhm.
learned is that like
You got to fully choose
I
something.
have to fully choose it. Yeah.
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 And so after that one, I remember telling my clients, I was like, I don't know why I keep trying to do like prove that I can do hard things when I can do hard things. And I do think that it's very valuable. Like, because I mean, I'm looking across this way at the macrame thing that I started, like art, and I could say that's a hard thing. Like, it's a project I've started,
Mm,
and like I haven't really gotten back to it, and it feels like a hard thing. But when I do it, I get so much out of it because I get to learn different ways in which I operate and I
mm.
approach things, whether it's creativity or business or relationships and things like that. So I think to go to piggyback off of this, like doing hard things mentally and physically, I would say that it's very beneficial to have something that you do that's um, physical, that you don't have any kind of attachment to,
Mm,
you know?
tell me more.
Like I didn't have an attachment to like winning first place in that
Oh,
race
right. I see what you mean. So
or like
attachment to an outcome so
to an
that you can
outcome.
experience the process.
Exactly.
Yeah, you did that so good with the running. Like you really embraced the process. You didn't push back on me. It made it very fun for me to coach and to support you. Like I got a lot out of that. Like you were actually receiving
Mm.
and I didn't know because I had the experience of the first time and I know that you didn't choose that fully for you and I
I sent you this race. I said that let's do it.
is that right? Wow.
Yeah,
I don't
because
really
I
remember
turned 30
exactly
this
what's that.
year
That's right.
and I wanted it to be a personal best
Oh,
kind of
personal
year.
best year. I do know that that's
Yeah.
still happening, and that's
Mhm.
happening.
Mhm.
Personal best and lots of firsts too.
Yes.
Okay, what's next?
What's next? What was your favorite part of Finland before we move on? Oh, you said the family. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I love the run.
The
I
race.
mean, it
And
was
all the food
great,
we ate
and
after.
all the food. I mean, for me, the best part of Finland was to meet our to reconnect and to remember how many connections I have there, and I really love the land. When I
Oh, we
go,
got to see Teddy too.
yeah,
Yeah.
when I go to a place, I'm either visiting people I know, or I'm visiting, or I feel like I'm visiting the land or connecting with the land there. I'm very uh blasé about cultural stuff. Like I won't really do that. If I go into a city, I'm like, where's the park? Where's the
Well,
nature?
you do enhance cultural things like the food and the way that they do life there. Like,
Somewhat, yeah.
yeah, a little bit. I mean, we were up watching a sunset at 11 p.m.
That's nature. So, and I did it. Like for me, I've done 50K a few times, and I felt really, really proud of my effort. Uh, I want to do it again next year. I did. My first was, I think it was the first where I did a number two in the woods in the middle of the race. It had to happen. There were not toilets for the first 15 or 20 miles, and if you got to go, you got to go. So I was sweating the first 8 miles of that, not because I was exerting myself, it's because I was holding one in. And um, after I passed the first checkpoint and asked if there was going to be a bathroom there, and they said no, it's the next checkpoint. I was like, all right, well, now my mission has changed slightly, and I found this big rock, and well, you can imagine what I did on the other side of that rock,
Yeah.
and I'm really happy I got to take care of my business because after that, I felt really good. I felt really good. That see for me, that's like my version of a period, like of having because not it's not to take anything away. Really, I get fully in my head about whether or not I'm gonna be able to take a satisfying dump before a long run.
Oh my
Like I need to have it
goodness.
because I don't want to carry that with me. And I was in my head about, I was like, am I gonna time this right? I should drink more coffee or whatever it is.
Yeah, because your race started way earlier than mine.
Yeah, I did. And Finland's 2 hours later than here, so we're
Yeah.
already so anyway, I mean, I just had my trip, but I got to do that number two in the woods, which is always a fun adventure. Not that it happens often, twice in the last 3 years that I remember. Okay, I digress. What are we talking about now?
What happened when we got back? You took off to shortly after.
Yeah, it's been a packed. It was May and June. We're still in June. We're powerful, exciting month. So I had been preparing for Vision Quest. This is my third Vision Quest. It's a 4-year commitment. Vision Quest is a indigenous ceremony, rite of passage, spiritual technology, whatever you want to call it, initiation, where the quester goes into nature for 4 days. Some of them vary different traditions, without food or without water. And and for me, the way it operates, the way it is it's a time to get really focused. To time, those 4 days without food and water is and being in nature is like I'm saying I'm putting myself in a position where I can be completely vulnerable and open to whatever spirit, creator, God can share with me. And why it works so well, having experienced previous quests and seen it and lived it, is that it's a ceremony and it's a container. So there's magic happening. Um, when we start, we do a sweat lodge. We do have a sweat lodge, and it's the kicker. I tell you, I've done now 3 of them, and each time I've been okay with the fact that I'm going to give up food and water. I understand that my body can do that. It's okay. But the first sweat lodge, he makes it so hot that I just feel like a prune coming out of it, and it gets me a little bit shaky in myself. I'm like, how am I gonna now not have water for 4 days? Like, explain that to me. But but I what I feel very sure about now is that there's some technology there about the sweat lodge because it does something to my inner system. It basically says, okay, at the physical level, you get to you can turn off.
Mm.
And he said it, he's like after the once this is open, this ceremony is open, you leave this sweat lodge in the spirit world. So even though we're humans coming out, but it's like I'm now entered into a different threshold where I guess I don't necessarily need this because it doesn't become a problem ever over the 4 days. And meanwhile, the questers are up there with their self and their nature and really their prayers, their intentions to get clear. There's a ceremony continues. The same fire that started that where the sweat lodge got the heat, it stays the whole time. And the people that are there are supporting. And I was grateful to bring a friend to support this time. They eat for us and they drink for us. So that's the other piece. Is like at an energetic spiritual level that's being met all the way through. So I can really be up there focusing on what it is I'm calling in, what it is I'm letting go, where do I want to put my attention and energy? Is there anything for you? You know, anything from you, creator, like that you want me to bring into this life so I can live it, purpose or whatever it is. And I love that. And it was hard. It was physically demanding and one thing I can say is that it's a long day. I'm still unpacking that. Like my perception of time when I take away all things that are distraction. It's amazing. Food is a distraction, screens are a distraction. Um, Even for me, just I can go out and go for a walk, and then that can take my mind off things or something like that. But in the quest, there's only this very small space. There's enough space to sit down, stand up, or lie down for the whole 4 days.
Yeah, do you want to share a little bit of that preparation? Because you made the prayer time.
Yeah, yeah. So the space constitutes of a staff in each cardinal direction, east, west, north, south, and it's wrapped around this string of little prayer ties that I created. So I got really disciplined about 2 weeks leading up to it because I've done this before and I know requires focus. And I make this little, it's a little square, it's part of the process, a little square piece of cloth, and you put tobacco. And tobacco is a plant medicine in these ways that sends prayers, sends my intention, my heart, my words, whatever that is, it sends it up to spirit. That's how that works. And so I tie them up and I do that 405 times, and I have this long string and I wrap it around the 4 staffs, and that's what constitutes my spot. And that's where I stay for the 4 days. And the chief comes to visit on the third day. The hard day is always the most the
I didn't
hard
know
day.
that.
Yeah, the first and the second day are the most difficult. Once it's third day, it's like I can do this. I'm gonna do this. It was cold and wet because it's Wales. Wales in the UK, if you're not familiar, is just cold and wet 85% of the time.
So he comes to visit, and what, like, do you have verbal exchange or?
Yeah, he says he's like, you look good. You okay? You need anything? Or not, he doesn't really say you need anything, but he just makes, I think that they do it as a, you know, make sure nobody's checked out of the spirit world into the other spirit world. Yeah, I think it's for, just to make sure everybody's, there was 17 people that went as questers and maybe 20 or 25 people that were down supporting. So this year was really special because the support crew is bigger than the questing people. And my highlight of that was, I get a lot from it. I'm really excited to do it again next year. Like it would be many hours of content if I were to talk about my experience. So I'll just say that it really helped me get clear and feel good and focused. One thing I really love is that community.
Mm.
They're salt of the earth people, they're hardworking people, they're committed to the practices, and their love is, the love is really there in that community. And so I love that that I find myself in that company, and I love that I attract that company around me, and
Mm.
I'll keep doing what I'm doing that makes that happen.
Oh.
Oh,
Thank you for sharing.
yeah, thanks for asking about it.
What's one of the, you said there's something you're still unraveling with it and that it would take, lots of hours, but what's one of the current?
Well, it's one of it is recognizing, okay, so I'm there a day in Wales, which is north. It's latitude or longitudinally, whatever it is. It's northern. So that means in the summer, which is really close to solstice when I did it, the days are very long. It's about I'd say 18 hours of daylight day.
Mm.
And when I'm there in the quest, all I've got to perceive time is sun.
So you didn't wear your watch.
No, no technology, nothing, not even a journal. I have a sleeping bag, something to keep me dry, like a tarp. That's it. Ground cover. Those are the three things that I had. And one thing is that the dawn chorus, the birds will start just before the light comes in, and then they'll get quiet just before it gets dark. In the in between, that's just a tremendous amount of time. Of like my experience of that is that I like to joke. I say it's a short eternity because and what do I do at that time? Well, I fill it with reminding myself what I'm doing here and actively speaking out loud my prayers, it brings so much gratitude to me. Within the first 2 days, I'm thinking about my childhood. I'm thinking about like all kinds of things start flooding in that I haven't thought of in ages and people in my life.
Because we're constantly distracted.
Yeah, because we're constantly distracted. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. Like, never before has our attention been more commodified. And also, never before is it more valuable that we become good masters, shepherds of our attention, our
Our
energy.
energy, yeah.
So it's recognizing that wow, there's so much that happens in a day, and it's that's taxing. And I had this insight like what makes it long? The perception long, and I think it's anticipation.
Mm.
I think it's anticipating it to be over,
Mm.
which makes anything longer than it is. And what do I
And
do
then hence taking you out of the
out of the
present
present moment?
moment
Yeah,
and
exactly.
causing suffering. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, I know that um, I've done 10-day Vipassanas, 10-day meditation course, silent meditation courses, and they're very similar in terms of experience. It's the even the presence practice, I understand that I can grow in presence, and the more time I spend at it, the longer I'm in presence, but it still feels like a long time. And I I'm content with that. I'm content with that's my experience, and I'm open to it to change. And I know I filled a lot of the time with my focus and my prayers and my intention, but it's really something to for me to look at is like reminding myself when I'm in the energy of anticipation because it's, the mind just like the ego just loves to distract.
Mm-hmm.
The ego loves to think about what happens next.
Mm-hmm. What does that anticipation energy feel like for you? Or where do you feel it in your body?
Hard to say with this experience. I mean, sometimes I'd feel it it feels like somewhat impatient. It can feel like it can be flavored by different things. It can be exciting. It can be I can trick myself into looking forward to it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still anticipation. It's still a form of suffering. This is what is taught in Vipassana. Is it doesn't matter whether you like something or you dislike something, you're still in suffering. It's the same, it's the same coin, different side.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either craving it or avoiding it.
Mm-hmm.
The present moment. The it is the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it feels, it feels just uncomfortable in some kind of way. But I would revert to some kind of something creative can come through that.
Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for asking.
Did you want to share about the oak tree that you noticed this time?
Ooh, I did, and I want to link that to the festival and close it.
Okay.
We had I had recently heard a song by this woman. I think her name's Lua Maria or something like that. Medicine music, beautiful, beautiful. And she has this song called Big Oak Tree or Oak Tree. Maybe we can get it in the show notes or in the
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And there, when I got to my place, I looked out and I was in a forest. I got very little light exposure, sky exposure. There's this huge, huge, five people couldn't wrap their hands around it. Or maybe,
Wow.
maybe. Definitely three people, bigger than three people. Oak tree, just an absolute guardian energy of the land. It was amazing. It was just there, right there. And I gave a lot of just it really helped me anchor a lot of the times. So I heard this, I was singing this song, Big Oak Tree, to the oak tree, and it was delightful to have that communion. And lo and behold, the one of the reasons I pulled the trigger on getting the tickets to the festival is because that we were just talking about at the beginning of this. I saw the artist who sings that song was going to be there, and I was like, I really just want to be there and hear that. And then I'd forgot, honestly, by the time we got to the festival, I'd forgotten. I had looked on the schedule. I didn't see her there or that she was playing. But after we had decided that we're gonna, wrap up today, but we went back in and it was there's just lots of synchronistic moments. We were really in flow at the second half of that day. I think because we'd honored what we needed is a great way to come back to that. And we were just checking out all the different what would you call them, stalls,
Booths. Yeah.
booths of people selling plant medicines, smudge sticks, drums, clothes, all these wonderful things, natural things. And we came into this one. There was a beautiful man sitting outside, just chilling, meditating.
Lovely.
Huh?
Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah, lovely energy. And he chatted to us, and shortly after we were trying out the testers, he came up to explain, and he said, "Oh yeah, we do this with." I was singing on this the spray. We were singing as we made it, as we prepared it with Lua, and I was like, or Luna, or I'm sorry, I'm not remembering her name at the moment, but I was like, you mean this person? And he's like, yeah, that person. And then all of a sudden, there she is. She's walking, walking over to the booth. And yeah, it was wonderful because not only did we make a great connection with that guy and his land here in Portugal and all the wonderful things they grow there, but I also got to meet her, and that was one of my main intentions. So it's just weaving that, it's like that big oak tree.
And the fact that you think you had been at that same spot the first year and you
Yeah,
didn't recognize
second year.
or
Yeah.
the second year.
I think I had that same spot in Vision Quest the second year, but I skipped a year, so I don't remember the oak tree, but I certainly remember it now. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, thanks, oak tree.
Yeah. And thank you to all the beautiful people that we've gotten the
Yeah.
opportunity to connect with in person, and for
Mm.
you guys for being here. Um, yeah, we don't we just wanted to use this space to share where we've been. Actually, we also do you want to close with our intentions for the summer? We were talking a little bit just
Oh,
before this
right.
started of
So,
some things
or what? Tell me.
for July. I mean, just a summer
Yeah,
intentions.
intentions, because we got the new moon coming. Yeah, very cool. Thanks. My intention for July is to continue a really great rhythm I've started. I've been for 6 days of the week rising at 5, and it's and getting my fix of what I need to fill my cup, and then right away into some creative things. That was the other thing about the fire is like creation versus consumption.
Mm-hmm.
And just yeah, right on the
Uh,
dot,
yeah, because you shared that analogy about
the inner fire.
well, yes, and I was asking you, I can't remember all about it. I really wish that we had like either somebody following us with a camera, one person, uh, to record our conversations, or that somehow, I don't know, maybe we get a camera and we're just like,
Maybe they're just for us, baby.
yeah, we do
And
our
then
best to
also,
share
yeah,
here.
and we
Yeah.
share, yeah.
Yeah. But I had talked to you about how I was feeling like overstimulated and just this energy of like, what was it? How did I describe it? Just like uneasiness. Mm,
Because that's why I brought up about the
no, I'm talking about the
that
time where I told you
consumption.
where it was like I was going to sleep reading a book, I was listening to different books,
Yeah,
I was doing the courses.
right. That kind of consumption too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was wanting to create, but and you gave the analogy of like there's a fire and then there's like
Putting too much
putting
on it.
two more logs on it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be like the too much consuming let
Mm-hmm.
in versus the creative letting the fire build up. So what
Mm-hmm.
was I talking about then?
Before for July.
Yeah, so in July, it's about hitting that creative energy right in the morning, which feels really good for me. And I'm preparing a course launch for a program that I launched 2 years ago, and it's been put on the shelf. And I'm feeling more excited than ever about preparing it because I feel very connected with people who are going to get a lot out of that. And I've gotten clear on what I want to do. So I'm going to really focus on that in July. We also have dear friends and clients coming to partake in our retreat, Soul Bloom retreat. So one of my intentions is to serve them impeccably and create an amazing container for them. Um, and that was something that's a shared intention, I know. And I would say I mean, take great care of my body like I do, and enjoy the summer in between all of that. Those are my intentions for July. How about you?
Yeah, so the providing and being of service for our clients or for Soul Bloom participants. And for me, I think now more than ever, I also feel this level of clarity. And at the same time, I feel this fire that's been within me. So for July, my intention is to really tune in even at a deeper level to show up for these things with the excitement and balancing and being aware and practicing the like, letting go of the
Outcome.
outcome and relaxing, like relaxing
Mm.
into the trust of like this.
Love a
Yeah.
relax. Yes.
That's my biggest like right now life showing me like this is what you need to do. Relax, which I feel like I'm relaxed, but
It's unconscious. It's like tension is
I literally
almost
feel like
always
this is the most
unconscious.
relaxed in my life I've ever been. Like
It could well be because think about
how much more relaxed can I be? Just like lay in bed all day. But it's and see that's like
says that that's the mentality of somebody who's got some fire in them. Like, uh,
anyway, so yeah, that's my intention. But I think it's really powerful, another like really powerful to tune into that because on the one hand, it's like really deciphering that like okay, like there's the physically relaxed, there's the are you mentally relaxed
yeah,
as well? Yeah.
mental so space, right? So
Hmm.
good,
Yeah.
good. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing. Thanks for
Thank
watching.
you.
To absolutely share your intentions whenever you watch this, whether it's a new moon time or not. The practice of you being invited to share your intentions and writing them down or typing them into the comment box, it's going to serve you, period.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we'd love to welcome that, and we'll be checking those comments. So thanks for tuning in with us.
Yes, thank you. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.